DoorDash just flew me and 13 other creators and Dashers to their home office in San Francisco, California for a first ever, never done before event, the DoorDash Dasher Roundtable. They spend tens of thousands of dollars to bring us out there, showing us new updates and features. But between you and me, the real question is, was it worth it? Not worth it necessarily to DoorDash, but the updates and all that stuff that I heard that I'm relaying to you, did it actually start to answer the questions that you have about being a DoorDash Dasher? So here's the deal. This is the first video of a 3-part series going over the Dasher Roundtable, including an exclusive interview that I got sitting down with DoorDash product managers. Hold on though. Hold on. I'll tackle this from the start. What was this? They paid for pretty much everything: the flight, lodging, food, logistics, like basically everything. But I'll tell you this, what they didn't pay for is any high content like this. So guys, I can tell you, the viewer, what I actually experienced, the pros and the cons from this roundtable event. In short, we heard first from DoorDash's CEO, Tony Xu, in the same room. Pretty sweet. And we actually got to ask him questions. And I had some time actually to ask him questions one-on-one, which was kind of insane. Number 2, we went into a product session, like a roadmap session, where we went over different current and future products that DoorDash and the team are working on. Number 3, we went over policy for DashRoots and worker classification. We actually went out in the field, and that'll be a separate video, actually dashing in San Francisco with DoorDash employees. I saw for myself the new autonomous DoorDash Dot robot, so we'll talk about that and the future of dashing. But let's get into the actual experience here. I'm gonna make this part quick here, but I do wanna tell you a little bit about my experience. Guys, I don't love flying. I don't know about you watching, but I did it from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 5+ hours over to San Francisco. We did it nonstop, luckily, and we stayed right next door, which is pretty insane, very convenient, right in downtown San Francisco. Immediately saw a lot of Waymo, autonomous vehicles, and all that. The session started on that, what was it, Tuesday at 10 a.m. and went all the way until like 8:30 p.m. with breaks for breakfast, lunch, and dinner in there. You had creators there that I got to meet for the first time, including our official team contributor, Phil with Dasher Phil. Pretty cool. We had Bentley with DoorDash Diaries. We had Richard from Sin City Deliveries. We had Marco from Nova Hustles. We had Luis from Spanish-speaking channel Delivery TV, and he's a big fan of this channel, which I appreciate. So if you know anyone that like does gig work in general, but they're primarily Spanish-speaking, you can point them over to his channel. So it's us and members of DoorDash's Dasher Community Council. And you can apply to that. It's like Dashers like you and I, and you just kind of be an advocate. You help DoorDash, you share opinions and stuff like that for, you know, your marketplace and just kind of Dashers at large. That's the DCC. And then there's DashRoots. I believe they're all Dashers as well, but it's an advocacy group. So if you like the policy side, wanting to work on portable benefits, advocating for independent contractor status, which is what DoorDash advocates for as well, you might want to look at that. The DashRoots community, you can apply to that as well. And after breakfast, which was nice, you know, all provided and stuff like that. They could have done a little bit better on certain things, but then we heard from their CEO, of course, Tony Xu. Now, I'm not going to really surprise you when I say, you know, Tony is very bullish for Dashers. He wants to motivate Dashers. He wants to support local commerce, you know, delivery, and then also, you know, excite and motivate Dashers for, you know, earnings opportunities, working on new earnings opportunities and rewarding, especially their gold and platinum Dashers. You know, honestly, a lot of the like super bullish or positive stuff, like I get it. And it all makes sense. You know, we want to work on bettering the Dasher platform. I want to hear, and you probably want to hear about like what things are pain points. And look, I need your feedback down below. And, you know, if I get invited back next year, guys, would love to come back next year. I need your feedback on one person on one marketplace. So you need to let me know down below so I can relay this so things can actually change if we hear what's not working. So please comment down below what is not working for you right now. That is what I was really interested in. So let's get into that. What were the sticking points that DoorDash acknowledged they're working on? To a different degree of like, okay, how much of a problem is it? Because you and I as a Dasher, you know how like severe a problem would be. I asked you, and clear as day, and I knew this even before going here, a big concern is, well, two things. Rewards programs, Dasher rewards. Let me know if you have that. You can put that down below as well. Do you have Dasher rewards? Or do you have overall Dasher rating? And I actually, you know, we were all talking and, you know, question and answer and just like sharing back and forth. And I believe this was what the product team, the team after Tony was there. And I said to everyone, I said, raise your hand if you have overall Dasher rating. And a surprising number, maybe 65% had overall Dasher, but I don't. And clearly not everyone did. So do you like it? But, and we've seen this in, you know, Phil's marketplace with Dasher Phil in the South Dallas marketplace. Well, isn't overall Dasher rating, here's point number 2 that I was going to mention, doesn't that include on-time rate? That's another big sticking point. It's like your ETAs on-time rate, which go into your ratings as a Dasher, it's so not accurate, man. It's like marking me late for the pickup and or the drop off. It's marking me late on the delivery because your ETAs, it's not the ever changing ETA because it can change on your app. It updates. No, it's the ETA on the initial offer card. And right here is probably one of the most important things that I can relate to you. So like this video if you can, and consider subscribing. All I do is help you make money in different side hustles. I've been doing this stuff for 10 years and in different marketplaces. I just want you to make more money on whatever app, not just DoorDash. Get ready. It is for on-time rates that they hear loud and clear that people do not like on-time rates, that they know on-time rates, it's a little rough, it's struggling a bit. Okay, but then what? Right, I get it. Then what are they gonna do about it? So they are working on on-time rates. Clearly, they're not going to tell us like super deep algorithm stuff, but they know that Dashers do not, it's not even like, oh, it's okay. Like Dashers do not like the current iteration of on-time rates. And if you didn't know, this is why they updated Dasher rewards, by the way, because Dashers didn't like having to do 100 deliveries in 30 days. I've said this on videos. If you're part-time, you can't do 100 deliveries in 30 days. If you're like part-time, you're only dashing here and there. Dashers didn't like the acceptance rate requirements. That's why they changed it or are changing it to overall Dasher rating. Here's the tie-in. So they're working on on-time rates, and that in part is why overall Dasher rating expansion is basically delayed. That's why more marketplaces don't have overall Dasher rating, because they're trying to fine tune the thing and improve specifically on-time rate. And I just want to address this now. It's like, I get it. Behemoth, huge Fortune 500 company, tech giant, DoorDash and all this stuff. And I understand there's a lot of feelings behind like, okay, going to corporates and they're just trying to like take money from Dashers. I talked to many members of that team, and I even talked to members that weren't scheduled to talk to us. I talked to a team member on the robotics on the Dot team. I could see they're truly trying to make the best company possible for merchants, customers, and Dashers. I understand it is a tight rope to walk here, but trust me when I say they were the most open. And even Tony, like their CEO, Tony took questions from like all of us. And you know how you can kind of tell when someone like really doesn't care? They're, oh yeah, it's a great idea. Or they're like, oh yeah, we should look into that. Like no, I could see he's genuinely listening, and he said some things were a good idea, like how to get more community around Dashers, safety. He was asked about, he highlighted safe chat and stuff like that, using AI to flag verbal altercations before it escalates. He was honestly listening. So actually, great segue there. Let me talk about, what I mentioned directly to Tony. I wanted to highlight that they should just keep accelerating, put the gas pedal on new earnings opportunities for you and myself as a Dasher. I said, hey, you're doing the new flash offer thing, and we're starting to see that in more marketplaces. I just got the email for flash offers. Now, there's a lot of working pieces because I got the email, but it's not in my app yet. So, again, what's funny is actually the new Dasher app, like the new home screen, some of the PMs, the product managers were saying like, oh, people like different parts of the team kept adding things to the Dasher app. Like it got adding this, adding that. So they had to come together and say, hey, it's getting too cluttered. Doesn't mean like every single policy and everything that they send down the line is the best thing ever for Dashers and it's always increasing your earnings. No. And funny story, one of the PMs that I talked to, I directly called out. This was after our interview. I said, you know what? The only thing in recent memory, at least, that I really called a complete miss for DoorDash was Dasher milestones. Remember that? So if you've done 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 deliveries, you've put maybe years in driving for DoorDash. You could have driven for another gig app, but you did DoorDash. 15, 20,000 deliveries. Congrats. Here's 15% off your next offer on DoorDash.com. And I kid you not, there was visible like anguish. Like he felt bad. He's like, man, he didn't say anything like, directly, but he like took it in. He took it in as like, we don't want to, I could tell. He's like, we don't want to miss for Dashers. Next, let's talk about that rewards program, right? That's like the top two things right now, on-time rate and your rewards programs. So a few people mentioned this. I'm not sure if it was Tony or, at least the PMs here, that they're working on new ways to like go online and get offers. And none of this is like direct quotes. It's just kind of, I could take notes. We could reference this stuff, but it's not direct quotes from anybody. That's Dash Now. If you've seen that go away, let me know in the comments if you've seen that go away. Dash Now. Because remember, if you were Platinum, you could get Dash anytime. So as soon as you hit Platinum, you could go online in the gray zones, like non-busy zones, you could go online whenever you wanted. And then they changed it to, priority to Dash Now. And then now it's changing where like Dash Now is going away. So they want to reward gold and platinum Dashers specifically. I didn't really get too much more as far as like what that would look like. I would love for it to play off of flash offers maybe. And like, it kind of sounded, this is just my own take. I didn't get a ton of detail on this. What if it looked like flash offers kind of, where like there's no online, it's just always looking for offers. Maybe you set your availability and then it'll send you specifically high paying offers. That's not really the best way to say it, but there's something that they're working on. So if you're interested in the rewards programs, and this, I think Tony did mention, like the vast majority of Dashers are dashing 4 hours a week or less. And he said that really hasn't changed over the years. And it hasn't, because I've seen that in their quarterly reports. They've reported that for years, and that's really not changed. But if you're in the 2 to 5% or whatever it is, that's driving 30 to 40, hours a week, there might be new ways that it might be easier, to get offers and make money. They highlighted Pro Shopper. We know that they're making changes to that original item found. So if you like shopping, I showed you that email that came through. Here it is, that you can prove it's out of stock. You take a picture of the shelf, right, and it won't go against your original item found. So hopefully it's easier to get Pro Shopper status. Frankly, there was a lot more in that first product session that I would have liked to have seen, but there was a lot of questions being asked. And I think DoorDash is, looking at ways to streamline next year if they plan on doing this next year. And again, if you'd like me to go next year, please let DoorDash know down below in the comments. Can you do that? Can you just let DoorDash know, like, hey, keep inviting Mike because he can relay good info back to us. DoorDash Dot. So might I not even need to go eventually if DoorDash and the little Dot autonomy thing is going to take over all the jobs for Dashers? Okay, so Tony addressed Dot, autonomy at large specifically. And he said, usually this is always the reaction to like AI and autonomy and jobs. It's the fear of a mass loss in jobs, and it simply doesn't happen, he said. It may spring up new opportunities. And he actually said, again, don't quote me on this, but he said that it might even bring up new opportunities for Dashers, or at least opportunities to work with DoorDash on Dot and kind of that surrounding industry. It's much bigger in person. Here I am with the DoorDash Dot. It is very likable as designed with the cute face and stuff. It is easy to open. You like put your hand in the mouth thing or whatever, and it opens. And there's a button on the top when it opens that'll close the thing. It's pretty deep. I believe it's somewhat temperature controlled, but that is brand new. I will follow that thing because I certainly don't want to have like 0 offers because there's a trillion dots around. It's not going to happen anytime soon. Let's talk about tips, right? Customer tips. Tony was asked directly about a lowered suggested tip. So one of their DoorDash Council, community members asked, well, I'm taking offers. And I either put in an example for Door, like as a customer or something, and the suggested tip amount seemed pretty low, like 3%, 6%, 9%, just giving you an example there. And Tony said, okay, well, imagine we increase the default tip to like 100, just, for fun. Let's just pretend we, made it like $100 default customer tip. Obviously, orders are just going to fall off a cliff. And basically, he kind of said what you think is like, you can't have a super, super high default, either dollar amounts or percent amounts, right? But I do think it's fair to say, well, there could also be a floor though. And we don't really want to flirt too much with a floor. We don't want to suggest a 2%, 5% tip for the customer. Maybe the lowest, what do you think? 8%, 15%, 18%. I mean, there's a lot of numbers we could play around with there. But going back to my limited one-on-one time with Tony, it wasn't scheduled one-on-one time. He was nice enough to hang around after his scheduled Q&A session and really just fielded questions from anyone that approached him. There was a lot of interest, and I'm fortunate, I'm thankful that I got probably 5 minutes with him to ask about, whatever. But again, I mentioned flash offers. I mentioned Dash Link. That's another thing. And I mentioned Dasher tasks, non-delivery opportunities. Now, typically those were add-on tasks, but I'm kind of mentioning hey, completely standalone non-delivery tasks. And again, he said more the same, that is something that DoorDash wants to encourage, that they're always looking for new opportunities and, earnings modes and whatnot for Dashers. And you know what I just thought? I mean, I know it's, it's Dot, it's what it is, but what if there was a Dot assistance thing, like a Dasher task, where if you're a Dasher, you could assist a Dot nearby that was either stuck or needed, I don't know, reset or whatever it is. Or even if it died, lost the charge, and it needs you to intercept the offer and then deliver it. That could be a Dasher task. Next, I want to get into that group Dash. That's going to be another video. And then my interview with 2 of the product managers at DoorDash, where I asked them about tipping, specifically the tip guarantee. You're really going to want to see that answer. And frankly, that answer surprised me. So tip guarantee, what Uber Eats just introduced, if the customer lowers or zeroes out the tip, would DoorDash consider that? But a summary for this video, experience, really nice. The team was great. The team was welcoming, and it was not fake nice. They were really genuine. They were really welcoming and really open to feedback. we had breakout sessions at the end of the day event. So there we kind of broke out into smaller groups. It was Bentley, Luis, and myself. And I was asked, well, what's the biggest problem or concern you've heard from your audience? Like you watching this. And I know a lot of you, there's a discrepancy. I said peak pay, right? Because I'm here in Pittsburgh and I get peak pay. I still have a floating 24/7 $3 bonus boost. Yeah, that's insane. It hasn't gone away in weeks. It's $3 all the time, in addition to scheduled peak pay. This is earned per offer. And I know a lot of you are like, I never see bonus boost, or if I get peak pay, it's like $1, $1.50. So I brought that up. And then secondary again, thirdly, I'd say it is that on-time rate 100%, but we already mentioned that, they know that's something that they're working on and will revise. Certainly on-time rates. And then of course, as we mentioned at the start of this video, overall Dasher rating, when that's going to expand hand in hand with the on-time rate thing. Trust me, that is like the tip of the iceberg of what we talked about. I just don't want to make this video any longer. That's why I broke it up into several videos. So yes, next video, we're going to go over the team Dash, and then we'll show you that interview with the DoorDash product managers. But please, put that sticking point or anything that you want to share with DoorDash, because hey guys, they watch the videos. Tony was asked, by the way, if he watches any content. And I think it was, I don't know if it was Louise or Phil, but they asked Tony directly. And Tony's like, no. He was like, yeah, I don't watch content, which he's very busy. But he did kind of say, well, hey, there's a lot of opinions, right? A lot of criticisms, feelings, whatever in the comment sections, which is fine. It makes sense. There's tens of thousands of comments. And he said, what is the signal that comes out of all of that? So like his team, again, what's up guys? They're watching content like this and they are reading the comments. The DoorDash team, the great communications team that I was working with, they say, they're like, yeah, I send so-and-so a video whenever you post it. I send so-and-so a video when you post it, and we all watch it together and we talk about this stuff. So please share down below in the comments. That is the only way these programs are going to change. And I've said this before, like any of this Roundtable stuff, right? I told you that I think DoorDash is the most agile because they are changing stuff. Other platforms like Flex, Spark, Instacart, Shipped, like what have they really changed over the past 5 years? Some stuff, but DoorDash is changing stuff all the time. Like obviously we want it all to be, successes. Some of it, like the milestones, doesn't quite hit, but without the feedback, they're not going to know what to change. So please comment that down below, and I appreciate you watching.